this webinar. I commend you for taking the time to invest in your real estate education. So what we will be talking about is something new, something that is really exciting, because this is a niche that that I guarantee you in your area, you will be, at the end of the call, you will be one of the few, if not the only one, okay, who will know how to invest in building code violations, okay? And you will be a master at turning problems into profit. And that's really where you will deserve to get paid, is when you know how to solve real estate problems, okay? That's our role as real estate entrepreneurs, is to solve motivated sellers' problems and you know, relieve the seller of that problem and then convert that problem into profit, okay? So for those of you, okay, so this is what we're going to talk about. So for those of you who don't know me, you know, I will spend a few minutes talking about who I am and why you should listen to me, and then I will tell you like a little story on how I stumbled onto code violations. All right, and in that story you will pick up lessons that you can use in your real estate business. I will then dive into the nitty-gritty, that is, you know, step by step, how do you make money with code violations, all right? And then I'll give you guys an opportunity to partner with me at the end of the call. I'm not going to sell you a home study course. You know, I don't like home study courses, to be honest with you. You know, and instead, I don't want you to be my competitors. Instead, I want you to be my partners. And, you know, you will be very pleasantly surprised as to what I have in store for you. You know, I'll provide tremendous value during this call. And, you know, at the end, you will realize, hey, you know, this is something that makes sense. You know, if this is something that makes sense to you, then let's do it. If not, then at least you'll spend this hour learning this, and you will definitely use this. You'll be able to use this in your real estate business. All right. So little bit as to who I am. I'm a well, I hope my wife agrees that I'm a loving husband to her. We're married now for almost 10 years, so I think there's something good there. Okay, and I think my two boys, Nathan and Johan, consider me as their greatest dad in the world. You know, that's our picture of the family there as we vacation in near Niagara Falls, Canada side actually. So all right, but I know, you know, that's not the reason why you guys should listen to me. But you know, I have, well, I guess after my family, the second greatest accomplishment that I have is I was able to help people around the world. I have students now in 5 countries, and some of them are actually real estate millionaires now. So I'm very, very proud of that accomplishment. It's fulfilling to see people succeed, you know, and if you are starting out, you are, you know, broke or close to being broke, you know, don't worry, because the strategy that I will be teaching you is something that anyone can use, and you can make money even if you don't have any money. Well, for one, I will provide you the money that you need in order to succeed in this business. All right. So I guess this is really the reason why you should listen to me. Is I've acquired over the past 6.5 years over $13 million worth of properties. You know, these are pictures of some of the properties that I have acquired, anywhere from little teeny, you know, houses to all the way to a 133-unit apartment complex. And I do have a small equity stake in a 229-unit apartment complex in Dallas, Texas. But other than that, 99% of my investments are here in Cincinnati, Ohio. All right, and I love wholesaling. More specifically, I love, you know, buying houses that have building code violations and then just selling them to other buyers for quick cash. That is basically what wholesaling is all about, and you will learn more about it when I tell you the story on how I stumbled, you know, upon this very, you know, very secretive strategy. And in the next 40 minutes or so, I will reveal to you, the secrets to making this work in your market. All right. I'm also a best-selling author. As you can probably sense from my accent, I'm not from Texas, so to speak. I came from the Philippines, and as my way of giving back, I wrote a book which became a bestseller. I think like 10,000 copies sold now. Well, it's not a Harry Potter book, obviously, but it's good to have impacted and affected, thousands of people's lives. So anyway, you can find out more information about it at tracetrajano.com. All right, and here in Cincinnati, where I am at, I was featured on the local news for helping people make money during this recession, and I think that website, refusejoinrecession.com, this news was circulated over the internet, and it reached all the way to Europe, which is very interesting. So anyway, I sort of discuss all of those not to impress you, but to impress upon you that even though you might have a lot of limitations, but if your dreams are big enough, then you can overcome any limitations. So for example, I first spoke by the age of 3 and stuttered so badly by the age of 8, and yet I became a award-winning speaker, not once but twice. All right, I almost failed English, in college due to poor grammar, and you can probably hear it once in a while that that I make grammatical mistakes in my writing or speaking, and yet I became a best-selling author. And I came from a poor family. There are many times that the house that we were living in is dark, or was dark, because we didn't have the money to pay for the electric bill, and eventually we lost our home to foreclosure. And yet, despite coming from humble beginnings, so to speak, from that background, I was able to acquire millions of dollars worth of real estate. So bottom line, if your dreams are big enough, then you can do what I have done, and in fact, you can do even better because, now you have me as your mentor and coach, and potential business partner if ever you take on my offer at the end of the call. All right. So then now let's move on to how I stumbled onto code violations. All right. Because this story on my first, I guess, code violations deal will help you learn sort of the basics as to how this works. Okay. So I wish I can tell you that I am this real estate genius that sort of thought all of these things through, but I am not. Okay. I sort of just stumbled on it sort of by accident, and then I made money, and then I realized, I asked myself the question, which is also the question that you should ask yourself every time you have a successful deal, is how can I repeat this? Okay. How can I repeat this over and over and over again? How can I systematize this, so that this becomes a cash machine, all right? So this is how I stumbled onto code violations, I have a landlord whom I know, let's just call him Peter, the landlord, and he called me, okay? He said that, well, I am aware, or I was aware of the house that he was trying to sell. He bought it. It's worth $50,000 if it's fixed up, but it needed a lot of work, and he acquired it cheap. Like he acquired it for like $10,000. So he thought it was a good deal, right? I mean, 10,000 over, that's 20 cents on the dollar. So one would think it should be a good deal, but that was when the market sort of was about to go down. That's when he bought it. But anyway, to make the long story short, it took him a year, with no buyers. He was not so motivated. He was not so motivated in the beginning because he paid cash for it. The taxes are quite small. But what happened was the garage has actually fallen apart. All right, and the city sent him a nasty note. okay? And honest to God, these are Peter's exact words, all right? Can I sell the house to you for $1? Okay? Think about it, folks. Peter was asking for my permission if I can buy his house for $1. All right? I did not even make the offer. He volunteered, hey, here's my house, just take it off my hands because the city is going after me with all these fines, okay? And if I don't pay the fines, then I could even go to jail, okay? I mean, the city of Cincinnati was nasty, and is still nasty if you have building code violations on your property. So now I understood why he was so desperate, And in fact, it's so funny. When I showed the letter to my sales manager was scared of the deal, of taking on the deal, and I told him, look, for $1, how can we go wrong? Let's just sell this as cheap as possible, and then let's move on to the next deal. Let's help Peter get rid of this headache. All right, and that's what we did, and true enough, the next day we sold it, and we made $3,000. So, but some of you might be asking the question, but Trace, what are code violations? All right. So what happens is, the city wants to maintain all the properties in good order, so to speak, right? Why? Because if they don't, if there are broken windows and so on, properties that are falling into a state of disrepair, they usually attract vandalism, and vandalism will attract, if one house becomes like that, pretty soon other houses can become like that too, because the whole, whole neighborhoods can become run down, starting with just one house, and then it attracts the wrong people, the drug addicts, and so on. Then, the neighboring properties, the owners start leaving, because of all this bad influence coming in, and then whole neighborhood's property values go down as a result of this. All right, that's why the city is very strict in, if you have, if your property is being run down, the city would impose a fine, okay, and that will be that's the building code violation, all right. In some cases, the violation is health related, okay, and that's your health code violations, all right. So, but there are generally 3 levels or 3 types of code violations. So level 1 is what, if you have tall grass, junk car in the yard, not having the right permit, the mostly cosmetic ones that are easy to fix, those are your level 1 violations, all right. One real estate investor I talk with, his name is Alex, he's based in South Florida. He told me, that even though it's only level 1, you should not ignore it, because if you continually not take care of the tall grass, for example, in certain parts of Florida, in southern Florida, especially in the higher end part of the market, like these luxury homes and so on, if you don't take care of the of these low level code violations, the fines can go up to 6 figures. When he told me that, I was like, what? I didn't realize that, and I'm supposed to be the expert, okay? So, but he was able to negotiate it down to $4,000, so that's not a big deal. But still, you should not ignore level 1 code violations, all right? And then if you still don't take care of your property, and things become worse, like now the windows are broken, maybe there is some clear signs of vandalism and break-ins, all right? Let's say the roof is the gutters is falling and so on. There were parts of the house that were not constructed properly. That's your level 2 violation. And then level 3 is when there are clear structural issues. The property is clearly not habitable. You know, in some cases, there are extensive mold infestation, not just one patch of the house, but the entire house can be covered with mold down to the, you know, down to the frames. You know, that will be your level 3 violation. And if you don't address level 3 violation, the city will condemn your property and will demolish it. All right? So that's why property owners with building code violations, especially level 2 and level 3, they are so desperate because not only you know, unlike a foreclosure, okay, in a foreclosure you only lose the house. You lose the use of the house, right? And in reality, if you know some tricks like filing bankruptcy, you know, and so on, you can delay the foreclosure such that you can stay there for, you know, for 6 months or a year more. I know you know, a person who was able to stay in his house for 3.5 years, even though, you know, he's supposed to be in foreclosure. All right. So, but eventually, yes, you will get kicked out of the house, right? However, when a property has building code violations, especially level 3, you know, let's say you're the owner, you don't live there for obvious reasons, right? You're let's say that you're a landlord, and for some reason you ran out of cash to take care of the problems, and you know, a simple problem became worse. So let's say you cannot fix the roof, and then it rained or it snowed and the roof caved in, you know, and you know the whole house is flooded, and then there were some mold infestation as a result. So that became a level 3 violation. Now, let's say you have a mortgage on it, the city doesn't care. They will demolish the house. You'll end with a vacant lot. Okay, you will have a big fine that the city will impose. You have a vacant lot, and you're still liable for the mortgage. All right, so that's why, you know, property owners with building code violations tend to be very, very desperate and very, very motivated. All right. So, for example, what I've realized is in Peter's case, for example, you know, in the greater Cincinnati area with a population of 1.5 million, right? Peter did not get any letter, all right. Whereas an average homeowner in foreclosure, or one who gets a notice of default, I mean, here in Cincinnati, he or she gets, you know, 30 to 50 letters, in fact more, in some cases up to 100 letters from real estate investors, you know, offering help to buy their house, right? A property owner with building code violations, like Peter, for example, he did not get a single letter, okay, even though building code violations are really public information, you know. So anyway, you know, in Peter's example, I sold this house and made $3,000. I mean, literally the next day we sold the house, we made $3,000, and the buyer eventually closed like a week or two later. But we did find a buyer very, very quickly. All right. So why should you have code violations as part of your investing strategy? As I said, there is basically no competition, or very little competition. In my market, 1.5 million people, greater Cincinnati, no one is doing this, okay? And there's a reason why no one is doing it. It's not because it's not profitable, because it is, but the reason is it's hard to get the list, okay? But I'll show you the way to find the list in your market, all right? And then second reason is the sellers are really, really desperate. And if they're desperate, they will basically do whatever you want them to do, including pointing out the possibility of getting a free house. Okay, and later on I'll explain how you can get a free house from the seller and yet make it a win-win. Actually, it's a win-win-win proposition. You know, I mean, this concept alone is worth attending this webinar. Okay, all right. And then the owners of properties with building code violations, these tend to be landlords, all right? Unlike a homeowner in foreclosure, in which obviously they only own one house, right? A landlord would typically have several rental properties. And if the landlord has some cash flow issues, such that he or she cannot solve the building code violation of one of his properties, generally what happens is, problems become worse, and he probably doesn't have the cash flow to take care of the other properties as well. All right. So in fact, for example, we bought 10 houses from one individual seller. Okay, because and we found him through mailing to people with building code violations. All right. So let me discuss with you right now the step-by-step way so that you will be able to profit from properties with building code violations. Okay? So how do you do that? Well, there are 3 steps. Okay, step 1, find them, okay, which is a very crucial step. Without step 1, you can't go to step 2. Right? Step 2 is buy them with no risk. And, if you don't do step 2 right, yes, you may be able to buy a property, but you can be liable for the repairs. Okay, you don't want that. So step 2 is where you should be very diligent and be very careful, and that is where I can come in as your potential partner. All right, and then step 3 is sell the house quickly. All right, and again, I can come in there to help you out and help you sell your property through my nationwide network of buyers. All right. So let's go in depth. Okay. So step 1 is find them. All right. So how do you do that? So you do that. So you find the list of building code violations from your city. Okay. So later on, well, in the next slide, I will show you like which city or part of the city government you should ask. Okay, so that you can get the list. All right, and then the next part is, now that you have the list of properties with code violations, you need to find the owners, and you do that by checking the county records. All right, as to where the mailing addresses are. All right, and then step 3 is you send them the postcard that I will give you. Okay, since you attended this webinar, you will get that postcard absolutely free, no obligation. You can use that in your market. My only request is, once you get the results out of that postcard, let me know, all right, and give me a testimonial on how well that postcard works. Okay. So let's go into more detail then. So how do you find the list exactly? Okay. So there are 2 departments that you should ask. Okay, in your city, you should approach the building department. All right. And or you should approach the health department. Okay. Now you can be lucky; the list can be online, but you need to ask either or both departments to be sure, so that they will point to you what website in your particular city does the list exist. Okay. The difficulty with the building code violations is that the city sort of tried to hide the issues, okay? But what you can tell them is, hey, as a citizen of the city, or as a resident of the city, and as a citizen of the United States, right? You have the right to get the list of properties, okay, that have building or health code violations. Why? Because you don't want to live near those houses, for one, right? And you can position yourself as an investor. You can tell them, hey, I want to help you guys out, okay, by taking care of these problem properties for you, because I can buy them and get rid of them, solve the issues for you, okay? If you approach the city in the right way, all right, if you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers, or you'll get the answers that you want, which is, hey, here's the list, thank you for being interested in this, okay? But this is where 90% of investors stop, okay? Because in general, governments are hard to deal with, okay? Whichever country you are, the U.S. is no different. There's a lot of bureaucracy, okay? They're not really getting paid to help you out, okay? So keep that in mind when you're talking to the building department and or the health department, okay? Sometimes you will feel like you're a ping pong ball being tossed from one department to the next, So when you ask the city, for example, the building department, hey, do you have a list of properties with building code violations? They will tell you, no, we don't have that list. All right, some of them will tell you that. Okay, but then you should ask the question again and ask them, hey, but who has that list? Like if I don't want to live in a neighborhood where there are a lot of properties with building code violations, which one, which city department should I approach? And sometimes they will tell you it's with the health department, okay? And then here's the other thing: if your city is, it's not so big, the list might actually be not with the city, but it can be with the county, okay? So, like we encountered this in a city in one of the suburbs in Cincinnati. It's called Mason, Ohio. And, so we checked with the building department. It was not there. They told us to contact the health department. We contacted the health department. It was not there, okay? And then they referred us to the county because it's not with the city, apparently. And so that's what we did. And so we were able to find the list, all right? But see, if you are patient enough to do some legwork up front, once you find the list, I mean, it's a gold mine, okay? Because you're the only one taking on, these problem properties. You're the only one mailing to them, and guess what? You're the only one they will call, and you will basically dominate your market, okay? So this is the postcard that I send to the property owners with building code violation. All right, it is crucial that when you have a mailing campaign, that your two things are crucial. One is the list. Okay, so your list has to be a good list. All right, it should not be too old that a lot of these code violations have been solved. All right, but at the same time, it should not be too new. Okay, because the problem with some of the newer code violations are all level 1, okay? So you want some mixture of level 2 and 3 there. So those would be the older code violations, all right? And sometimes the city doesn't really update the list on a regular basis. So you need to, you need to do a lot more legwork getting the list versus, let's say, a pre-foreclosure list or 30, 60, 90-day list. Those lists, you can get them easily. But the problem is, because it's easy to get, you also have a lot more competition, okay? The beauty of code violations is because the list is difficult to get, then you don't have a lot of competition. But since you don't have a lot of competition, you'll make a lot more money. And again, the property owners tend to be landlords, so you get repeat business, okay? So this is what you tell them. You have to have a powerful headline that makes people, that makes your prospect want to read on, or want to read the rest of your letter. Your headline, which is this one: attention, code violation on blank. So I sort of personalize it. So code violation on the property address. All right, and then I tell them, hey, aren't you sick and tired of your property, which has become a pain in the butt? All right, so that powerful headline captures their attention, and now if they're my ideal prospect, now they want to read on, okay? I mean, literally you have like less than 1.2 seconds to capture your prospect's attention, all right, with a powerful headline, powerful enough that, yeah, I mean, that they want to read further, all right? And then the next part of my postcard in here is I tell them, hey, bad tenants, clogged toilets, vacancies, right? So I am what I call pressing the pain, So when somebody, let's say, cut themselves and so on, and then you accidentally pressed on their wound, right? I mean, it's painful, right? So that is what you are sort of doing. When you are setting them up, okay? So this part is what I call you are pressing the pain, okay? So you're saying bad tenants, clogged toilets, vacancies. Yeah, these are problems that landlords face. But what could be worse? What about the city? making you pay stiff fines and penalties for code violations on your property. Okay, so that paragraph right there makes them realize, holy cow, yeah, you are right. This is really painful. Okay, and then once you set them up, then you tell them, hey, but get rid of your problem property now and convert them into cash. If you want to sell, we are ready to buy. So call now, visit our website. So you give them a strong call to action. Call now. And the reason why is we can only deal with so many properties and so on. You create some sense of scarcity, all right? And then you have a postscript or a PS that just emphasizes or just reiterates what you want them to do, okay, which is call now, all right? Just give them another reason for them to do your call to action, all right? So, I mean, this postcard is so simple, all right, and yet it has tremendous response, okay? A typical mailing campaign for foreclosures, for example, you will be lucky if you get 2% response, all right? But guess what, folks? This postcard has a 20% response, okay? So that means if you send 100 of these postcards, provided your list is good, you should expect 20 phone calls. That's how powerful this postcard is, okay? So when I first got this, I couldn't believe it, all right? In fact, my actual number was 30%, okay? But when I tested it later, mailed it a few more times, I'm averaging around 20%, which is just amazing for a direct mail campaign. I haven't seen anything like this. This is like off the charts. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense, right? If you're the only one mailing, if the owners are really motivated, they are so desperate because the city is going after them, and they have no way out because they don't have the cash to fix it in the first place. That's the reason why the property is in the state of disrepair. But now, on top of the repair cost, now the city has, is imposing stiff fines and penalties. All right, and then, no one else is sending them mail but you. Okay, so just think about it. Since no one else is sending them letters but you, and you send them letters, and they're very, very desperate, guess what? Of course they will call you. All right? All right, so next step, after you send out the postcards, all right, people will start calling you, okay? This is the time to ask what I call the wow questions, all right? I wish I invented these wow questions, all right? This is a good mnemonic, so to speak, so that you can remember what to ask any seller, not just sellers of properties with building code violations. Okay, so you can so first W is what is the house worth? Okay, what's the house worth when it's fixed up or in good condition or move-in condition? All right. Of course, some sellers don't know the answer to that. So if they don't, then you just have to do your preliminary comparable analysis. All right. And then O is how much do you owe on it? So you ask them their mortgage balance. Well, for one, is there still a mortgage on the property, or is it free and clear? Number two, how much is their monthly payment? What's their interest rate? Okay. And then W is, what are the repairs, if any? Well, obviously, in this case, there will be repairs, the fact that the property has building code violations. Next W after that is why are you selling? It's very crucial, okay? You need to understand the seller's motivation for selling the property, okay? And then lastly, you sort of negotiate with the seller. If I can pay you all cash and close in a week, okay, what's the least you could take, all right? I can even pay for all your closing costs. What's your bottom line dollar? What's the least you could take? If I can pay you all cash. Okay, so you negotiate to find out if you have a spread between what the house is worth versus what the seller is asking for if you're going to pay him all cash. And you can pay him all cash when you partner with me because I can provide you that cash. All right? So, one other thing that you can mention to your seller is the possibility of him giving you the property for free. All right? This one, it's a weird concept, but it's absolutely, doable even in your market. In any market, this should be doable, okay? So what you tell the seller is this: hey, I can help you. I can coordinate the process, okay? you can donate the house, okay? We will partner with a nonprofit, which is recognized with the IRS, okay? And you will get 50%, okay, of the as-is value of the house as a tax deduction, okay? Or as your tax rebate, all right? I am not an accountant, okay, or nor a tax expert or a attorney. Okay, so you need to consult your attorney, your tax expert, or accountant because, you know, for specific tax advice specific to your situation, all right? But you can get up to, okay, based on, you know, based on what I know, and again, consult the experts to be very, very sure because each person's tax situation is different, all right? So just imagine that if, let's say the house is worth, you know, 50,000. That's the as-is value right now. Okay, so you may need to get an appraiser to give the appraisal. Okay, the appraiser obviously must not be in any way connected to the transaction. Okay, so it has to be a third party. You know, the seller can pay for that appraisal, or you can go ahead and pay for that appraisal depending on the deal. All right, so let's say the appraised value is $50,000, okay? Let's say this is free and clear to make the math simple, okay? So the seller donates the property for, you know, donates the property, okay? So sales price is zero, right? But guess what? Depending, again, on the taxes that the investor will have to pay, you know, if he can get up to 50% of that, he will get $25,000 from the IRS. Okay, all right, which is phenomenal. Maybe that property, even though the asset value is 50,000, because of the code violation, he really can sell it for, you know, I mean, he'll be lucky to sell it for $5,000, for example. All right, and then what you do is that you know, basically the seller sells the property to the nonprofit. Okay, well, basically donates the property rather, not sell it. Okay, so and then you buy the property from the nonprofit. Okay, and then you sell it to your end buyer. Okay, so what happens in that situation is the nonprofit gets the cash. Okay, from you because you bought the property, let's say for $5,000 from the nonprofit. The nonprofit makes $5,000 cash. All right. You take care of the code violation. Let's say there's a code violation of, you know, another $5,000. So that's $10,000. And by the way, you can negotiate the code violation with the city, right? So let's say in the absolute worst case, you weren't able to even do that, and then you found a buyer, which of course the only way for this to work is you should already have a buyer lined up, okay, who's willing to pay $20,000 for the property, okay? So guess what? You just made a $10,000 profit. The nonprofit or the charity makes $5,000, okay? And for a nonprofit, that's huge, right? You know, and the seller gets a $25,000 tax rebate. I mean, you know, this concept alone, as I told you, is worth attending this webinar, because this is a concept that no other guru or real estate expert is talking about. Okay, so just imagine that you can get a free house, and it's a win-win-win situation, because now you have a happy seller. The seller gets rid of a problem property. The city is no longer going to go after them. You're able to help a nonprofit, okay, by buying the property from the nonprofit, okay. They get, and then you immediately resell the property for cash. So you've made a cash profit. The nonprofit is happy because now they have you know, additional money, additional cash in their bank account that they can use. And then the seller is happy because now, you know, this big problem is you know, is off his back. You know, he will no longer be thinking or having nightmares about this property at night, okay, because you have solved his or her problem. All right, so this is the golden win-win-win, and you can do this, you know, and make a lot of money just by this one strategy right here. Okay, so step 2 is to put the property under contract, you know, with no risk to you, and you can do it 2 ways. One is through what I call a non-exclusive option to buy or option to purchase. And then the other way is by using a purchase contract with inspection contingencies. okay? And if the seller complains about this, just tell him, hey, look, I know I'm buying the property as is, but I need to check with my partners and contractors to see, if the repairs that I estimated is really, what the repairs are. And also I need to check with the city if I can talk with them to find out exactly what the problems are, and you can also use this as your way to negotiate with the city, so that they will sometimes lower the code violations or the fines that you have to pay, and that creates a profit of a profit center for you when you're able to do that. All right. So as I said, step 2 is negotiating with the code enforcement or building inspector so that they will lower the fine so that the deal so that the deal makes sense. All right. And then one of my students, Ronald Kagape, this is a husband and wife team. Unfortunately, I didn't have the picture of the wife, but anyway, he told me, he wrote to me that the negotiation techniques that I taught him has saved them $8,000 on one very little deal, like a $30,000 deal. I mean, $8,000 is where they got the profit, okay, from that deal, just from the negotiation techniques that I taught him. All right. So, and then step 3 is sell quickly. All right. In selling quickly, one of the things that you need to learn is that in order for you to sell quickly, you need 3 things. Okay. Most real estate speakers and gurus, will tell you, hey, to sell quickly, just put out bandit signs out there. Okay. Well, but you need to learn how to do marketing. Okay. A marketing expert by the name of Dan Kennedy taught me this concept called the marketing triangle. All right, and how the marketing triangle works is this: you need to identify who is your target buyer. Okay, and then you formulate the message in your marketing campaign. Okay, a message that will compel your target buyer, okay, to act or to call you or email you. Okay, your message has to push the hot buttons of your target market or target buyer. And then lastly, you need to put out the message in the right media, okay, that are relevant to your target market. So all of these are connected, just as how a triangle will not exist if one of the sides are missing, then your marketing will not be as effective if one of the sides are missing, okay? So if you only focus on the media, all right, yeah, put out signs, right, without understanding who your target market is and without the right message, then it will be, it still won't work, okay? If you don't know what to put on your signs, it still won't work, all right? So who is the who? Who are your target buyers for properties with building code violations, all right? Since properties with building code violations tend to exist in general, now again, it will vary from county to county, from state to state, and in every city in America right now, I don't care whether it's the inner city or the suburbs, there will always be parts of the city or town that you live in which properties get run down, and those properties will have building and health code violations, all right? So you just need to seek them out, all right? But in general, given that a lot of these properties are in the inner cities, your target buyer, is a landlord who live in the inner cities, and their favorite strategy is Section 8. They fix it up, then they qualify for Section 8, all right? Some of them qualify for subsidized housing, okay? And for those of you who don't know what Section 8 is, it's basically the government subsidizing the rent of people with very low to no income, okay? That's Section 8, that's the Section 8 program, all right? If it's in the suburbs, these would be your renovators or rehabbers or even higher-end landlords, all right? So those will be your target buyers, okay? So you need to understand exactly what they're looking for so that you will know, the right properties to go after, all right? Okay, so then then you need to have the, we will not be talking about how do you formulate the right message in this webinar, but just to make the long story short, we will talk about media. And in media, what I teach my students is you have to have extreme marketing, which is, you expose the right message to the right target buyer multiple times using multiple media, so that there, the probability of you reaching your target buyer becomes very high. Okay. Some of the marketing media that you should use are offline media, like bandit signs. Okay. And then this one is huge: cold calling or mailing Section 8 landlords. Okay. I have never heard this from a real estate speaker or guru, and yet this strategy is so simple. Okay, what you can do right now, well, not right now, but tomorrow, is you can go to your city Section 8 office, and you can ask for the list of properties that are Section 8 qualified. All right, and then what I want you to do is you can start calling the Section 8. You can start calling the landlords who are the owners of these properties. Okay, sometimes you will encounter property managers, but given that 80% of these houses are being managed by the owners, okay, then the contact information will be the owner's information. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to call them, and you can say that, hey, I got your name from Section 8. Okay, so it sounds like you're like an official Section 8 representative or something like that. Of course, that's not your intention, but then you can say, hey, are you, how is your property going? Is that profitable for you? All right, and then you can ask him, if the answer is yes, are you still looking to buy more properties? Okay, if the answer is no, you can ask the landlord, hey, are you looking to sell your property? Okay, because two things will happen. If they say yes, they want to buy more, right? Then you need to qualify them to find out if what can they do. Are they qualified to buy? Do they have the cash to buy? Do they have good credit to buy? And if the answer is no, they don't want to buy, then you ask them, are you willing to sell? Okay. So you see, I mean, that simple list right there is worth the price of admission, again, because that list is a gold mine, and no one and very few investors are taking advantage of that. Okay, it's a gold mine because when you encounter a Section 8 landlord who is successful and he wants to buy more properties, guess what? You have just found yourself your buyer. Okay, and if they're not successful with the Section 8 program and they want to sell, guess what? You have found yourself a motivated seller. Okay, so right there is a list, that you can go right now, well, tomorrow, okay, and start making those cold calls and start building your buyer's database even before you buy your first property. Okay, the other thing that you can do is networking at RIAs and meetup groups. So if you go to meetup.com and type in Real Estate Investors Association and then the name of your city, and in fact it also searches by zip code. So then you'll be able to find those organizations in your city, those meetup groups, and you can start attending those meetings and start meeting investors, start meeting landlords. Those are your buyers, right? All right. I have a student. She's based in Michigan. Her name is Maria Singer, and she said that 15 minutes after putting the signs that I told her to put with the right message, okay, her phone rang off the hook. She was so amazed by that, and in fact, she sold that house like after 2 days, if I remember correctly. Okay, so you just need to put the right marketing message in your marketing media so that it will appeal to your target buyer and will compel them to call you. Okay, so that's really the secret in marketing. It's not selling the house. Okay, the objective of your marketing is not to sell the house, because your marketing will not be able to sell the house. You don't have millions of dollars or billions of dollars in marketing budget. So you cannot spend a whole lot of explaining over, let's say, TV or radio. Okay, so all you need to do is put out intriguing marketing messages out there that appeals to your target buyer and get them to call you. And once they call you, then that's the time that you will be able to sell the property. So in my world, marketing doesn't sell properties. In my world, marketing compels your buyer to call you, and then it is your job to sell your properties over the phone. Okay? And then you can also use online marketing media like Craigslist. Okay, you can post ads to sell the house. You can seek ads from landlords. Okay, then you can call them. All right, you can seek ads from renovators. So if you search for Craigslist ad in your city right now and look for phrases like new, newly renovated, and so on, that seller is likely a renovator. Okay, or a rehabber. So now you can start, you can start establishing a relationship with him or her. And then you can start looking for properties for that rehabber. All right. You can also join real estate groups. Okay. Like Yahoo groups. Then you can definitely use social media. Okay, like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I have a student who found a buyer through LinkedIn. Okay. All right. I have a student. Her name is Eden April Alemania. She sold the house in 2 weeks just using online marketing.